What's going on to all my sci-fi fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again, breaking down the latest episode of the brand new Apple TV Plus sci-fi epic by the name of Foundation. Today we're breaking down episode 3, which is titled The Mathematician's Ghost, an episode in which we hear the whispers of the ghost, but we also learn more about Salvor and her connections to the Vault. We're breaking it all down here in this spoiler review, but before we dive into it all, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to this channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you all can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you enjoyed this spoiler review, well, make sure to like and share the review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And for all my Foundation fans out there, let's break down this third episode together. What were some things that you really enjoyed about this episode? What were some things that didn't work for you all? But let's talk about more about the big events. Seeing the opening with the Cleon and the clones, the cycle of life and death, and transitioning to Terminus, and seeing the civilization build its world out, as well as Salvor and her personality and her heroic traits that she's given us so far, and what's exactly her special ability. Why is she able to communicate and connect to the Vault, and more importantly, what the hell is in the Vault? And also let's talk about the ending and how these ghosts have reappeared on Terminus and what it can mean for the rest of this show. Let's talk about it in the comments below. So before I recap and break it all down, first and foremost, for every single one of you all that engaged in my review of episodes 1 and 2, I really appreciate it. I read all the comments. It was a mixed bag. There was a lot of people that have read the novels that were not the biggest fan of the first 2 episodes, feel like it didn't really do it justice. There were people like me that this is their first time being exposed to this IP that really enjoyed the journey. So it's really interesting to kind of see where people are at, especially now after this 3rd episode. But I'm really invested in the show so far. I love the world building. I love the characters so far. I think the writing has been really sharp. I mentioned it last week. The visuals are absolutely flooring. The sound, the sound design, the score has all been really epic, and the scope and scale has been beautiful. But I'm really enjoying how we're getting to meet these characters. Hasn't been a ton of action, which I'm okay with, because they're spending more time on dialogue and who these characters are, for when things really go crazy, we can care for those characters, which I really enjoy about a story. So I really enjoyed this 3rd episode, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So let's recap it and break it all down as we open the episode 400 years earlier, and we see Cleon, and we see that he is coming about his final days. He is dying, but he believes on his final days that he's leaving the Empire in pieces, and we see the early stages of his legacy of the Star Bridge being created, which brings us to 400 years later, 19 years after the bombing. We see that the Star Bridge obviously has been bombed in episode 1, and we see that brother Dusk, who is retired at this point, who's passed on his Empire kingship to the brother Day, and we see that he is now coming about his final days. And we know that this particular Cleon clone is the oldest of the genetic clones, which is just so cool to kind of get that kind of backstory of that character as his final days are kind of coming about, and we see him kind of preparing for his final days and saying his goodbyes to his brothers and his empire that he's created. So what I love about this kind of opening moment here, one of these scenes that we see these clones questioning the true legacy of Cleon, right? Is it the legacy of him cloning himself and continuing his dreams to continue to build the empire and make it the best empire as possible? Or is it the Star Bridge? Is it the Star Bridge and creating this kind of this joint community and having all of the galaxy come together and have peace? So that's a great question to kind of see the psychology of these clones and how each one of them are obviously born from the Cleon, but they all have their different ways of how they perceive the legacy of the first Cleon, which I thought was a very interesting conversation within itself. But we see him receiving his final gift, which his brothers take him to for the last time, the Eye of the Empire, as they promise to build something better in his honor as they destroy his legacy, which that's the whole theme of this episode. What comes before you and how it can affect your future, and just seeing your legacy being blown up right in front of you, which was just a really cool way. I know some people might have been maybe disinterested or maybe bored by this opening, but for me, I really enjoyed seeing this circle of life of the cloning going through, and more importantly, the point of view of Dim Arzel and how she has seen all the Cleons, how she has seen them from birth to death, and how she has to keep reliving that. And we all know that she's one of the lasting androids of her kind. So I just love seeing that routine, seeing the brothers say their goodbye to the darkest brother at that point, which is a really cool way to open up the show. show and really give me perspective of this cycle of life and death and this whole theme of the episode of your legacy, which is a cool, awesome way to open up the show. But fast forward to 17 years later, we see that Cleon 14 is now a teenager. Meanwhile, we go to Terminus as the civilization is building itself out and they're beginning to lay land to Terminus. They are surprised to find that there is something there before them, and that is in the present day. That is the vault, as we know that there is many people that fall when they get close to the force field of the vault, except for one individual that we'll talk about here in a second. But it's in the voiceover by Gail that we hear that this is an artifact from the aliens. My question is, who are these aliens? Do they come in peace? What exactly are the answers that they're hiding in the vault? So many things. I know the book readers know, but I'm really kind of fascinated to know what's so special about the vault. More importantly, why is only one person able to communicate and connect to the vault is my big question. And I can't wait to find out that answer. But as we see the birth of Terminus, and as time goes by, we officially meet this dreamer, this thinker in Salvor, who's a very kind of hero of this story. It's her and Gal, who we didn't get Gal in this episode, but I'm really interested to know what are their connections. I know someone mentioned in the comments last week, I don't know if this is from the books, but some people think that that might be the daughter of Gal, and only time will tell. But nonetheless, we see that she is in this present day. She is the Warren of Terminus. She keeps all the people safe, and I kind of love again how the show is building out our characters as we see kind of the day-to-day routine for all of Selden's believers and what they do on a day-to-day basis in regards to continuing civilization once the Empire inevitably falls to his prediction of psychohistory. So we see the issue at hand right now is that the vault's force fields are expanding, and I love this kind of quote here by Salvor as she says that you all believe that there's a threat that's beyond the stars that's going to be affecting the civilization, but it's more or less the vault is the threat that's at hand. And again, what is the vault all about? We meet another new character in Hugo, who is an adventure seeker. He goes out on the planets and gets different resources for Terminus, but he's also in a relationship with Salvor. And we see this moment where they have their moment. They're happy to see each other. He's going to be back in town and be back on Terminus for 29 hours, but she has some type of intuition. She has something that's bothering her. She wants to check on the vault. As she makes her way, she sees that there's this young boy who runs into an abandoned ship, and it's a creature. So I'm like, okay, is this alien creature transforming and disguising as this boy, or is it all about the whole themes of Ghost and who is this boy, his connections to this ship, as we get to see one of the big threats are coming to the way as they see these gunner ships being led by and driven by Anacreons. And you all remember the Anacreons was one of the two governments that were completely taken out by Brother Day in episode 2. So the big question at hand is, how do they survive their planet being blown up? So that answers the question in regards to, again, the name of this episode was the ghost and how the ghost can affect and hear the whispers of the ghost. What do they want exactly? We'll talk about that here in a second, but we see that Terminus is preparing for the worst. But let's go back to Salvor as her mother introduced her to Selden's psychohistory, and her mother wants to know if she's able to maybe decode some of his information of what they can expect to see, as she's not able to, but it still kind of goes to the question, what is special about her? Why is she able to, again, go to the vault? And I think inevitably she will be able to decode Selden's information there. But I love this quote here: to be alive is to know ghosts. Listen to their whispers, as we end the episode with Salvor chasing that same kid who is the alien creature that is a lone wolf, and she meets the Anacreons as she assumes, and we hear the voiceover there that they are there to take their goods. So again, how did they survive that explosion? Were they just maybe people that were maybe venturing out from their planet and they were just like on a run and they weren't exploded, and their parents and their families and everything they love blew up on that planet, and now they're out for vengeance? That's something exciting to see. Of course, Salvor, my big thing is, how is she able to connect to the vault? What's in the vault? Who were the aliens that created the vault? And just everything that comes on there. And of course, the Empire and seeing the clones. And we didn't get Gail in this episode, so it's really interesting to see where she's at and how she's going to play into the story, especially after, I didn't want to spoil it when I did my non-spoiler review, but knowing that Selden's dead and they think that maybe she's responsible for his death, asked, where does she go? What planet is she on? So I'm really excited to learn more about this world, about these characters, about the big question, what exactly is in the vault, and all the stuff that the show has presented to us so far. I'm very invested into it, and I really enjoyed this episode. But I want to know your thoughts on this episode again. What worked? What didn't work? Your thoughts, your theories, your predictions. Again, I know there's book readers out there, so don't spoil too much, but let me know how you all are feeling about the show so far. Let's talk about it in the comment section. Before you all leave, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell. That way you don't miss any other content. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to the channel, check out my other videos, and we'll see you all on the next one.